The dog days of summer are winding down on us. It won't be long until your Facebook feed is full of back to school pictures. Well, if you've watched the news at all here in the last few weeks, the Delta variant is getting quite a bit of press. I thought we'd spend a little time on it. Undoubtedly, we've seen a spike in cases and even hospitalizations. The question, of course, for investors, what kind of an impact, a drag on the economy might this have? Now, the first thing to point out is that this is not February of 2020. We're not pre-pandemic anymore. We have vaccines, plural, right? Multiple vaccines, many treatments, many precautions that we've put in place that have drastically reduced the impact of this Delta variant. And maybe even the measuring stick of all, where we see this, fatalities, deaths, where you've noticed even recently the spike in cases and to a lesser degree hospitalizations, but still seeing deaths and fatalities at pandemic lows. How much of a drag economically are we going to see? Well, we're back to pre-pandemic GDP, domestic growth, economic growth. And while I think that the third quarter forecasts will soften a little bit, we have about a 6% expectation. Where would this drag come from? I think there's three areas. The first is, while lockdowns are unlikely, something like we obviously saw in February and March of last year, 15 days to stop the spread, you may remember, which has turned into months and months and months. While a full-out lockdown is unlikely, added restrictions, be it mask mandates or social distancing or passports like you've seen in New York, which can certainly impact the way businesses are able to carry along, individuals and families are able to carry along. I think that's maybe the first place we see a little economic drag. The second, and I think maybe more impactful, would be the changes in individual behavior. Folks who have safety concerns. Obviously an impact on the job market, where we're already under quite a bit of stress. You can't go to eat anywhere without seeing signs, help wanted. Even maybe childcare and how that impacts a family or a two-earner household. And of course, even workplace safety in the office building. I think those three combined may be having a drag on the recovery that we've seen in the job market especially. Thirdly, I think it could slow demand, but maybe more impact on the supply side. So factory activity, so production in our economy, materials shortages, pricing pressures. We're already having inflation issues. That could potentially put a little bit of a cap on the growth that this recovery might otherwise experience. But with all of this, all three of these, have you noticed what the market's reaction has been? We're at all-time highs. Yes, we've had a little bit of a volatility, stint here or there. But much of what you're seeing, and even those 3 points we've just mentioned, has already been factored in and priced in. The markets you'll remember are anticipatory. They're usually 3 to 6 months ahead. And so volatility, dips, are likely to be short-lived. Stimulus, of course, which markets almost universally love. We've got $3.5 trillion for a budget this year. You may have seen we just passed the infrastructure bill. We've already, with both of those investments, pushed back the Fed rate hike expectations to 2022. So we continue to have this expectation of an accommodative Fed. All this kind of adds up to, despite the risks of this Delta variant, a spike in these cases and hospitalizations, we've still got an expectation of solid economic growth. In fact, the expectation I'd place at around 6.25 to maybe 6.75 for the year. Volatility should be viewed as an opportunity. And remember what's normal. Remember, it's normal to have 5% pullbacks in a year. It's normal to have 10% correction in a year. And by the way, a 10% correction on a 35,000 point Dow would be 3,500 points. For a correction, that would be normal. So volatility, yes, probably going forward. I would expect kind of the yo-yo summer we've had, the Texas two-step summer we've had to continue. But that's why we have a plan and a process and why we stick to it. We'll talk to you next time.